Rwanda, 20 years ago, a country left devastated by almost unimaginable violence. In the space of 3 months, between April and July, an estimated 800,000 Rwandans had been killed in a campaign of systematic bloodletting.
The perpetrators already were ready with weapons, with lists of Tutsis to die.
Ubundi Genocide yarabaye kuko nayigizemo uruhare abantu batandatu imiryango itandatu y'abantu nibo nagizeho uruhare mu rupfu rwabo.
But how did Rwanda get to a point where friends and neighbours could turn on one another, rape one another, mutilate and kill one another?
Muri Genocide icyabaye ku itariki 8 z'ukwezi kwa 4 mu 1994 nibwo bishe ababyeyi banjye.
In this special report, we investigate the root causes of the Rwandan genocide. We interview survivors and policymakers in an attempt to piece together events during those dark months and explore their legacy today. Modern-day Rwanda was given to the German Empire in 1890. The country was comprised of 2 main ethnic groups, the majority Hutus, approximately 85% of the population, and the minority Tutsis, around 14% of the population. There was also a tiny minority of Twa, who comprised around 1% of the Rwandan people. The German colonial powers favoured the minority Tutsis, who they saw as racially superior.
The Rwandans, before colonialists, they were living together. They had, of course, names like Hutu, Tutsi, and Twa, but those names were more of a social than ethnic classes.
Hutu, Twa, Tutsi were living in Rwanda for a long time, but they were not considered as ethnic groups. Because to be ethnic groups, different ethnic groups, you have to have different language, to have different culture. When
you look at the Rwandese, they have the same language, they have the same culture, they intermarry, they stay together in villages. There's no village for Hutu or for Tutsi. And even physically, it is sometimes very difficult to distinguish between them.
At the end of World War I, Belgium accepted the League of Nations mandate to govern Rwanda as part of its existing African empire, a nearly 1 million square mile expanse of territory in Central Africa. Obsessed with eugenics, the Belgian administration gave all Rwandans ID cards, classifying people into ethnic groups.
Normally, divisions were brought by colonial masters. Arriving here, they found Rwandese people living as one nation, having a king like a symbol of sovereignty and togetherness of the Rwandese people.
With the arrival of Europeans, colonialists, they started to define these community groups who were used to live together as one people, as ethnic groups.
They found it better to classify the Rwandese as ethnic classes. So they took those social classes and converted them into ethnic classes. That's what brought the problems.
So with the colonial time, the theories of division saying that one group came from European, the other group came from Africa. So the theory of ethnic groups were developed by, especially by the colonialists, and were developed politically by the Rwandan politicians, because they use these ethnicity division to exploit people and to divide and to command the population.
What happened in Rwanda was due to bad leadership. It was due to the poor leadership that we had that actually instilled in people the ideology of hatred, of divisionism, and that reached an extent of reaching where people would kill each other.
Belgium relied on Tutsi domination for administering the country. Tutsis were given better jobs and housing. Ideas of ethnic division were taught in schools.
Upon the arrival of colonial masters, they decided to divide and rule. So by dividing, the preference was given, certainly, to those who were somehow well off, who are Tutsis. A colonial master arriving here, he decided to divide Rwandese people into two in order for him to ease his ruling of this nation.
Resentment among Hutus was high. In 1959, a series of riots left many Tutsis dead. Many more fled to neighbouring Burundi, Tanzania and Uganda. Ethnic tensions sharpened. In 1962, Rwanda gained independence and the Hutus took power. The Tutsi minority became a scapegoat for social and economic grievances. Institutional discrimination against the Tutsi minority resulted in a refugee crisis as thousands fled the country to escape persecution.
The persecution of Tutsi started since 1950s, end of 1950s and 1960s. And it continues in the First Republic, the Second Republic. So, the persecution became institutionalized.
They started the propaganda of hating the Tutsi. They created they even published 10 commandments, 10 Hutu commandments, which were discriminating against the Tutsi on the radios, in political speeches, in newspapers. They were always attacking the Tutsis, and even in schools and jobs, the Tutsis were discriminated against.
The ideology of hatred, the ideology of discrimination, and the beginning of genocide ideology to call people to the Hutu to kill Tutsi has been developed since this time.
The Second Republic made matters worse even, encouraged the Tutsis, the Hutus to deny jobs, the Tutsis, not even to marry the Tutsis. They even came up with the more 10 commandments, which were more radical than the first ones, and so on and so forth.
Soon, Tutsi refugees in Tanzania and Zaire, looking to regain their former positions in Rwanda, began staging attacks on Hutu targets. Retaliatory killings of large numbers of Tutsi civilians in Rwanda led to an ever-worsening cycle of violence. The Rwandan Patriotic Front, or RPF, was founded in Kampala, Uganda in 1988. Comprised mainly of Tutsis, its stated aim: securing the right of return for Rwandans in exile and reforming the Rwandan government, including a power share between Hutus and Tutsis. It received significant diplomatic support from the United States government. The RPF launched an attack on Rwanda in October 1990. All Rwandan Tutsis and Hutus who were members of opposition parties were labelled as traitors. Ethnic tensions were worsened by irresponsible and provocative news and media coverage of events.
Of course, the media played a very, very important role, especially just before the genocide and during the genocide, because it called all Hutus to kill Tutsis, considering that Tutsis were not Rwandan, were not human beings. It called officially to the killing, to the genocide. Many journalists, many radios were working for the genocide ideology. So the press, the media played a very, very important role in this process of expanding genocide ideology, of mobilizing people to kill each other.
That time, people were really different because some of them had a fear of being killed, and the others were like just happy because their neighbors are killed. That's why even after genocide, people were traumatized with the events. Mm-hmm. That's why really people were changed their hearts and minds.
Human rights violations were widespread. Extremist elements within the Hutu majority began planning a campaign to exterminate Tutsis and Hutus sympathetic to them. According to one foreign journalist,
most chilling about the genocide is how much warning there was and how it was ignored. As the so-called Hutu power movement was building, there were half a dozen sporadic outbreaks of killing starting in 1990. But the world ignored them.